There is no question in my mind that Jeffrey Epstein took advantage of loopholes in the law to exploit women, particularly the loophole that allows the banks to get away with looking the other way when someone like Epstein is engaging in these vile practices. My team saw firsthand the names of women and young girls in these documents. And from an investigation standpoint, that's a big tell. I'm Ron Wyden, one of Oregon's United States Senators, and I'm the ranking Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee. And we decided that this was very much in our brand of saying we'll do investigations where we follow the money. With our investigations, we have a paper trail. The only people who've seen it thus far are the bipartisan staff of the Senate Finance Committee. We started looking more than 3 years ago. We were very interested, of course, in the banks because the banks have special rules, federal rules, that they are supposed to step up and protect the public when there are serious problems. And we have accounts, we have federal files, and we can look into areas that nobody has ever really thought of. I started from the proposition, it doesn't get any more serious in terms of a really god-awful offense than sex trafficking. And everywhere we turned around, we would see very affluent people. And of course, it seems that much of it started in Palm Beach and New York and a handful of neighbors where people talk. In the case of Mr. Leon Black, for example, one of the settlements really in effect says that some of the money that Mr. Black made available to Mr. Epstein was used for sex trafficking. So we followed the money. We went to the Treasury Department. We looked at suspicious activity reports, what are called SARs. We made it bipartisan. We worked on this early on with Republicans. And the more we saw, the more concerned I was. And that's why most recently we made clear that we were talking about well over 4,000 wire transfers. I knew that there'd be a lot of wire activity trying to get so much money around the world for Epstein's sex trafficking, but I never expected 4,000 wire transfers through one bank. Is $1 billion in total. We showed that this was not a kind of flashy one-off, and we assume that much of what is in those wire transfers, the details, involves activity in sex trafficking. This investigation has taken more than 3 years, and we went to the Treasury Department and looked at the documents with the Biden staff in February of 2024. The reason this is different than during the Biden times is we have much more information. We were just in the information gathering period during the Biden administration. This was building step by step by step, collecting the evidence, examining it, making sure we knew where it was and how you would access it. And we continued to collect more information, and when we felt that it was time to respond and to particularly get the Trump people moving on an investigation, we did. Donald Trump has made some far-fetched statements over the last few months, but a stunner in the last few days was his claim that the Jeffrey Epstein matter was a hoax and a scam. I went to the floor of the United States Senate, and then I told the American people as it became clear that Donald Trump would not. It is absolutely ludicrous for Pam Bondi to say that there is nothing to investigate. 4,000 wire transfers, that is a heck of a lot of lines for possible investigation. But Trump's DOJ had no interest in spending a significant amount of time looking at those files at the Treasury Department. They didn't go to Treasury because they didn't want to face the facts. Donald Trump was president through all of this. Donald Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein died in a federal prison under Donald Trump's watch. Now his attorney general is saying there's nothing to investigate. Pardon me. I continue to be very concerned about Epstein having used sanctioned Russian banks to basically spread money from sex trafficking all around the world. The next step is for the Treasury Department to make available on a bipartisan basis to the Senate Finance Committee the documents we've asked for. My own judgment is if Pam Bondi wanted to get up in the next morning or two and make these documents available to the Senate Finance Committee, she could do it. One of the most important questions that comes out of this is why were America's leading banks, a number of them, basically sleepwalking through this whole Epstein matter. They should have been watchdogging this. They should have brought to law enforcement what they believed was going on. One of the key changes I'm going to push for is writing new black letter law that makes sure that there will be civil and criminal sanctions when banks see this sort of activity and they look the other way. I've come to feel that there's some issues that aren't considered blue or red. That's the case with sex trafficking. People believe it's just plain wrong. They understand that women and young girls are getting hurt, and they want to know what happened, and they want the answers.